From the KOS-MOS voice actor leak to a myriad of insider gossip, the rumblings around a Xenoblade 2 upgrade have only continued to grow louder. And the best part is, judging by the Switch 2 edition for Xenoblade X, this could literally be announced and shadow dropped at any given moment. Now, to all you wet blankets out there, yes, it could easily just be a simple visual enhancement, much like Xenoblade X and presumably the rest of the trilogy, but I have always believed that Xenoblade 2 would get a major upgrade regardless of what it is marketed as. Because the reality is, it doesn't matter if it's called the Switch 2 Edition, or Definitive Edition, or Definitive Edition Switch 2 Edition, or Switch 2 Edition Definitive Edition. Nintendo has proven this time and time again with how wildly inconsistent their upgrades have been. No matter what it is called in the end, the Switch 2 is the perfect excuse for Monolith Soft to make some much needed adjustments. And no, this would not delay Xenoblade 4 or whatever new game they're making. The company has grown exponentially in the past decade. You don't need to be such a doomer. And in order to prove my point here, we're going to be dissecting this into the 3 tiers of upgrades Nintendo has been doing lately. The first is a free patch, the second is a Switch 2 edition from $5 to $10, and the third is the gargantuan, yet often dreaded $20 upgrade. The good news is, believe it or not, all 3 of these tiers have the potential to make realistic improvements to the gameplay of Xenoblade 2. That's right, even a free patch could have meaningful results, and there's no better example than Animal Crossing New Horizons. While it did receive a paid upgrade, the bulk of its features were provided completely free of charge in its 3.0 update. Now, don't get me wrong, I highly doubt Xenoblade 2 will receive anything near this level of content for free, but I could totally see it benefiting from quality of life changes. Xenoblade 2 was the first game in the franchise on the Nintendo Switch, which unfortunately means it is the only game that lacks the modern quality of life. I'm talking about quest navigation, collectible tracking, and most importantly of all, a proper tutorial menu. These are all things that have become standard after Xenoblade 2, so the least they could do is bring it up to par. But that's not why I bring up Animal Crossing. You see, just like the 3.0 update improved crafting and terraforming after years of its fans complaining, I could see the same happening to Xenoblade 2 regarding its gacha and field skills. And thankfully, just like New Horizons, all it really takes is a few minor touch-ups. Right off the bat, field skills should be automatically calculated instead of forcing the player to go through the menu every time and do the math themselves. This is a no-brainer decision. It should be the first thing they consider. Because not only is it the biggest inconvenience in the game, it would also be relatively easy to change. I mean, speaking as a novice at coding, even I can think of a solution. Just take the top 3 relevant blades of each driver, add their skills together, bam, that's it. It does not have to be more complicated than that. And by that same token, field skills and other affinity chart upgrades should immediately take effect without having to go to the menu first. This should take a minimum amount of time to implement while saving an immeasurable amount of time for players. These 2 changes alone will make Xenoblade 2 a much smoother experience, and again, they are so relatively basic that we could realistically get them for free. But don't worry, I did not forget about the gacha system. There are a plethora of minor adjustments they could make here, any of which would go a long way. The most straightforward thing they could do is buff the potency of legendary core crystals. After all, they are called legendary core crystals. It's weird that they barely feel any better. Alternatively, they could also rework the entire gacha formula, but I regret to admit that I am not enough of a nerd to fully understand it. All I know is that the more rare blades you pull, the harder it is to pull more of them. And while that does make sense on paper, at some point it does get way too hard. So I could see that being addressed if they do alter the formula. That covers the field skills and Gacha for now, but there's more where that came from. The Merc missions are another aspect of the game that I feel could be easily improved. For example, the suggested field skills are intended to lower the mission's required time, but they often don't feel that impactful. Some people don't even notice what they do. So I would definitely buff this mechanic to make it more relevant. Either way though, this does present yet another no-brainer, and that is to make the Merc missions count real-world time. For all of you fellow Pacopia players, imagine if you had to leave the game open in order to construct buildings. Yeah, that's not great. Hell, fun fact, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate pretty much has Merc missions for the spirits, but it does indeed count real-world time. If Monolith Soft isn't going to patch specific missions and blade quests, then this is certainly their next best option. Now if they need more inspiration, one thing they should take from Xenoblade X Definitive Edition is the cut down on affinity grinding. Affinity grinding has honestly been a pain since Xenoblade 1, so anytime we can speed that up, we'll take it. And while we're at it, we may as well chuck Torna's community in there too. The grind to level 4 is quite notorious, to say the least, so I would be shocked if that went unscathed. Last, but certainly not least, Mythra's Smash outfit was patched into Xenoblade 2 for free after her spirit was censored in Ultimate. Now that they've both made it onto the roster proper, it's only fair that Pyra gets to wear her Smash outfit too. So there you go, in case you lost count, those are 12 whole improvements to Xenoblade 2 that would all be remarkably impactful while still being minor enough to remain a free upgrade. And to throw a bonus in here, Smash just reminded me of one more easy improvement they could make, and that is regarding the battle dialogue. I'm sure many people would appreciate it if they lowered the rate of voice lines, as it can get quite egregious, but I'm actually suggesting the opposite. Patch back in the Ardanian soldier voice lines. I understand they were shortened to alleviate the constant banter, but considering they were such a fan-favorite meme that they even made it into Smash Bros., it would be a nearly effortless way to appease the fans in a potential free patch.
Don't forget me! You're done? Think you can take me?
You're done. Think you can take me?
But of course, this is Nintendo, this is gaming and the economy in 2026. If we had to pay $5 for a questionable upgrade to Xenoblade X, then we're probably gonna have to pay for anything in Xenoblade 2. In fact, you may have noticed that I didn't even mention any visual enhancements, and that's because, unfortunately, I do believe out of everything I've mentioned thus far, 60 frames per second and 4K resolution will be a $5 minimum. By the way, that does include extra cosmetics that I would really love, or even a revamped UI. I just can't see them changing the fundamental look of the game for free, because, you know, if it looks like an upgrade, then we should sell it like an upgrade. Now I could be wrong, especially after the Backlash to Xenoblade X's Switch 2 edition, but it's much safer to expect there's a price. Personally speaking, if those visual enhancements came alongside at least a handful of the changes I listed, then I'm not gonna be upset at paying $5 or even 10. It would essentially be a mini definitive edition at that point. There are a few additions though that would definitely sweeten the deal. That was a dumb line. Let's keep that though. We'll keep it. If we look at the current selection of first-party Switch 2 editions, you'll notice that recent games like Pokemon and Metroid are primarily visually enhanced, while older games like Zelda and Animal Crossing gain some form of additional content. Animal Crossing received a megaphone item as well as expanded player lobbies, while Zelda received a companion app with exclusive lore that is fully voice acted. You can argue whether or not these additions are worthwhile, but despite being small, you can't argue that they are brand new pieces of content and mechanics that exist to make the player's life easier. So what would be small yet brand new and helpful to Xenoblade 2? What instantly comes to mind for me is a brand new core crystal. In all sincerity, the gacha system is not disruptive for the vast majority of the game. As the girl who beat it with Godfrey only, anyone who seriously thinks the gacha is holding them back doesn't know what they're talking about, no offense. Where it does become a thorn in your side is the end or post-game, when all you want to do is get all of the rare blades before leaving Xenoblade 2. So just like the DLC adds NPCs that give you exclusive core crystals, I could see them doing the same thing here once you reach the world tree, just to ensure you get to experience as much of the game as possible. Just a reminder, by the way, there's already a dozen of blades that are obtained via side quests instead of the gacha. These are some of my favorites in the entire game, and I feel like they're overlooked because of all the fuss about the gacha, so please keep that in mind regardless if they alter or add any core crystals. That's a brand new item right there, but what about a mechanic? No spoilers, but I would love a new mechanic that comes along as part of Rex's title in Chapter 8. I call it the Universal Field Skill, where Rex can level up a singular field skill that can substitute for nearly any skill that fails a given skill check. Emphasis on near, he should not be able to substitute for field skills the party does not have at all. Ideally, this would make it so field skill leveling is overall less tedious, but none of the blades are diminished in value. I know that might sound ambitious, but much like the core crystals, there's already a precedent here. The DLC had already added brand new mechanics to certain drivers. This would not be the first time. Something that is small, helpful, and technically brand new would be the affinity chart. That is, the affinity chart from the other Xenoblade games. This was a pretty glaring omission for franchise veterans, so bringing it back would be a nice touch. Granted, much like revamping the UI, I don't think they'd make all these new assets for a free upgrade. But I think the most exciting addition they could do, something that is also only technically brand new, is to take a page from Xenoblade 3 and allow you to swap party members in the middle of combat. They wouldn't have to add new animations or anything like that. Everything is already in place, just give us the button to do it. Sure, they didn't do it for Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, but that makes sense to me. The Soul Voices mechanic is reliance on your party members being uncontrollable. I understand if Monolith Soft would be hesitant, but I just feel like it would make a paid Switch 2 edition a lot more attractive. With that, we have finally made it to the $20 upgrade tier, and although it may be the highest, it's also the easiest to figure out. Mario Party Jamboree, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, and Super Mario Wonder all received major additional content that is equivalent to a DLC expansion. While Xenoblade 2 already has an expansion, I would not be so quick to dismiss it. I've spoken about this in detail in other videos, but without spoilers, the Xenoblade trilogy has a few notable loose ends that all conveniently relate to Xenoblade 2. Executive Director Tetsuya Takahashi has even heavily implied that they will be answered in an upcoming project. Obviously that means Xenoblade 4 or another expansion, but Xenoblade 4 has already been implied to be the start of something new, so that leaves an expansion as the most likely outcome. And when you have all these other games making up excuses to sell a $20 expansion, I really wouldn't be surprised if they do it for Xenoblade 2, a game that already has the excuses to sell us more lore. This just in. Oh, hi there. This is Nara from the future. The day I'll be posting this just reminded me that as crazy as my idea might sound, this has already happened before. Let's not forget whose birthday it is. Future Connected is an epilogue to Xenoblade 1 10 years later, and as frivolous as it was, it did mildly foreshadow some things about Xenoblade 3. 1 plus 2 equals 3, 2 plus 2 equals 4. You catch my drift? Eh? Okay, let's get back to the video now. See you later. To be fair, there are other possibilities. Perhaps the voice actor leak was a glimpse at a new questline starring KOS-MOS. I wouldn't doubt it, considering Xenosaga's growing influence on the series. Or what could be really fun is adding Xenoblade 3 characters as non-canon playable blades. You might hate this logic by now, but if the DLC did it for Shulk and Fiora, I could see the Switch 2 edition doing it as well. But above all else, no matter what type of upgrade or re-release we get for Xenoblade 2, we need to talk about what Monolith Soft shouldn't do. Because that is just as important, if not more important, than everything we just spoke about. To be as clear and concise as possible, let's boil it down to just 3 guidelines. Number 1. Do not pull a Xenoblade X Switch 2 edition. At the time of recording, the Switch 2 edition has yet to be patched, but I would hope the message has been sent. I would hope all the refunds and all the attempts at refunds has jogged Monolith Soft's memory a little bit. You're better than this. We all expect better. Whether it's you or Nintendo that needs to hear this, do not release a Switch 2 edition in such a dubious state, let alone one that is paid. Number 2. Do not pull a Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. I love this Definitive Edition. I even love the divisive new story content. I especially love how bold they were to all but remove field skills while adding quick recharge as a universal battle mechanic. But I don't want that in Xenoblade 2. Xenoblade 2 does not need that. It made sense to butcher field skills in Xenoblade X because they were completely arbitrary and added nothing of real value. But in Xenoblade 2, like them or hate them, they are integral to the level design and the value of every single blade. It made sense to add quick recharge, because Xenoblade X's combat is beloved for how broken Overdrive is, so leaning into that and helping you unlock it sooner isn't actually that radical. But in Xenoblade 2, the combat is beloved for the combos, which are already available at the beginning of the game. Sure, you can maybe speed up the early combat a little bit, but anything more would be way too much. Sure, I can even forgive Torna for making combos way too easy, but the base game is still a fan favorite and is generally considered a top 3 Xenoblade battle system at worst. And that directly leads me to number 3. Do not sanitize Xenoblade 2. You might have noticed a trend in my proposed list of changes. Never did I attempt to get rid of or even water down the combos, the gacha, field skills, merc missions, pouch items, or any other mechanic. And the reason for that is very simple. Those are all core aspects of this video game, and thus they should all remain core aspects. I don't care if some people don't like them. I don't care if some people hate them. I don't even care if I don't like them sometimes. And nor should Monolith Soft. This is the video game that you made. This is the vision that you had. These are fundamental parts of its design and identity. Not every game has to be squeaky clean. Not every game has to play it safe. Not every game has to be for everyone. But every upgrade or re-release should be for the fans, not the people who want every game to be sanitized for them. Monolith Soft understood this for Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, so I have faith they will for whatever lies in store for Xenoblade 2. And maybe, just maybe, I've also given you faith. If you're willing to give up on whole mechanics because of minor inconveniences. When in fact, at least hopefully I've shown you that all you need is minor improvements to alleviate most of the complaints. But hey, for all of our sakes, I just hope we get to find out someday ourselves. Thank you so much for watching, thank you for humoring my yaps and my rants, and until next time, please keep being good to others, and have a good day. Bye bye.